So Scott, I have a quick question for you. You're using your phone just for the audio. You can still see the video screen and everything through your computer connection?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Okay. So theoretically, for example, Colleen, I just want to check and see, what do you see on your screen now, Colleen?
I see the agenda
Perfect.
or the public meeting notice, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, good. At least we know that's working. You know how sometimes technology is.
Mhm.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and obviously we're going to record this meeting. So I wanted to let everybody know that we are in fact recording this meeting. We'll keep a record of that recording and the city will have that as part of the public process. So it looks like we're about 5 minutes into it. What do you think, Vice Mayor? Would you like to wait a few more minutes just to see if we have some more committee members coming on board? Would you like to get started and welcome them as they get here? What is your preference?
Let's give it 2 minutes and we'll go from there.
Yes, sir, will do.
Thank Daylight savings time. It's still, people are still feeling the after effects of it. So you never really know.
Hi, Commissioner Joshua. Good to see you.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
It's good to virtually see you, even though I'm looking at your picture, but just as nice to see
Yeah, I'm at work wearing masks. You don't want to see that. Yeah, both over there, please. Thank you. I'm gonna turn my video on for a second. So you guys
Oh, there you are.
There she is.
Hello.
you. Good to see you, Simon.
same here.
Doesn't look like we have anyone else popping in.
No, not just yet. We did have a few more RSVPs. So, and I did obviously try to send out a few reminders, but you know how that goes. The nice thing about that is we might have a little bit of a shorter meeting. So everybody might get out a little bit early and we might tack an extra meeting on the end to make up for that time so that we can encourage some more participation if we need to.
All right, then let's go ahead and get started.
All right. Again, officially, we're recording this meeting. I want to share the agenda with you really quickly and let you know what we're up to just briefly, and then I'd like to turn it over to the Vice Mayor. So my name is Cheryl Trent. I'm your facilitator today. What that really means is that I'm going to be trying to make sure the meeting stays on time and on progress, and then we get accomplished what we're trying to accomplish. The purpose of the meeting is to talk about the strategic plan, and I have something that I need to read out loud to you before I turn it over to the Vice Mayor. I apologize in advance. Pursuant to Governor Ron DeSantis' Executive Order 20-52 issued on March 9th, 2020, as continuously extended in Section 252.38 Florida statutes, all local governments are authorized to waive procedures and formalities otherwise required by both state and local law as necessary to allow the local government to continue to perform public work and take whatever prudent action is necessary to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the community. This meeting has been noticed and will be run consistent with the meeting procedures utilizing communications media technology adopted by the City Commission on December 3rd, 2020. In light of the current pandemic, accommodations have been made to provide the opportunity for public comment without the need to attend today's meeting in person. The procedures for public comment will now be explained by the advisory group liaison, who is me, for this meeting. The material for today's meeting is available online at www.coconutcreek.net. Members of the public were advised in the notice for this meeting that they could address the advisory group by attending the meeting virtually or emailing comments not exceeding 400 words to eduab@coconutcreek.net. or by calling 954-973-6729 to leave up to a 3-minute comment on the city's dedicated public comment voicemail. The city provided a simple set of instructions explaining how the public may submit their advanced comments, which were published in the notice and on the city's website, www.coconutcreek.net. In addition to all live public comments presented at today's meeting, all public comments that were received by email or phone message prior to 6 p.m. on March 17th will be included as part of the record for this meeting and will be considered by the advisory group before any action is taken. Anyone wishing to appeal any decision made will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose may need to ensure that a verbatim recording of the proceedings is made, including the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. The audio of this meeting may be requested from the City Clerk's Department. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, any person with a disability requiring assistance for the meeting may notify the office of the city clerk. Vice Mayor, would you like to kick us off, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for everyone taking the time to attend today. Listen, when you talk about strategic planning, people don't understand how important that is for the future of a municipality, for the future of a government agency, for the future of a region. When you really think about it, what does it involve? It involves issues like infrastructure and sustainability and resiliency, which we've embraced, which our city has embraced years ago, but we're significantly embracing now. We're talking about public places, parks, recreation areas, neighborhood enhancements. We're talking about business development, ways to facilitate and increase our local businesses so we can grow and be more of a, live, work, play city. Public safety really on the forefront when we look at not only are we standing up our own fire department, but continuing to give our police department the resources they need to keep our community safe. And lastly, we got to look at internal support, things that we can do as a municipality to make sure the talent that we have in this city stays in the city. And, and it's difficult when we look at, private, public, sector differences and making sure that we have amazing talent now in the city. And we got to look on a strategic planning level on how to facilitate growing that through a number of different means. So these are just a few of the capstone items that we look at when we talk about strategic planning. That it's an honor to kind of kick off this discussion session, this roundtable on how the city can involve our leaders and our stakeholders moving forward. So I welcome the discussion. I look forward to it. And thank you everybody for being on the call today. And thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. I would like to come back full circle to the agenda very quickly. And I want to explain why, again, as the Vice Mayor mentioned, it's so important that you all are here today. And then I want to quickly mention a few of the staff members that are present to sort of listen and learn and hear from you all in the public, as well as explain a little bit about the purpose of the advisory group. So this is, as you saw, the public agenda. We're sort of in this welcome overview introductions stage. We're going to hop right into a conversation about the strategic planning process that we're going to use. We're going to talk with you all a lot about your thoughts and feedback, and then also talk about some of the community feedback we've received to date. And then there'll be public comments specifically at the end if there are any members of the public that join us. If you're an advisory group member, your comment is all the way through the process. If you have a question or a concern or an issue, want to raise some thought, that is entirely what's going to be happening during the meeting. For members of the public, there's that very specific time at the end, and then there's the adjournment. I mentioned that the meeting is planned for 2 hours. With a small group like this, it will go much more quickly, which is great. You get to get out a little bit early. But at the end, I'm going to ask for your permission to talk about our future meeting dates to see how well those might work, and if there's something we need to do to adjust the date or the time to make it more convenient for you as advisory group members to attend. So I mentioned myself, that is, my name is Cheryl Trent. I'm your facilitator today. I'm the consultant working with the City of Coconut Creek on Vision 2030, which we'll talk about momentarily. And we have several staff members here. So in no particular order, that Karen Brooks, I think everybody knows everybody, but just in case, Karen Brooks, your city manager, Sheila Rose, your deputy city manager, Bernadette Hughes, who's really the lead for the strategic planning team. She's the assistant to the city manager. Yvonne Lopez, I'm gonna totally mess this one up, the community relations director. Oh, yay. And I saw Keisha somewhere. Oh, there you are, Keisha. Hi, and I don't remember your title. I'm sorry.
Budget and Grants Manager.
Budget and Grants Manager. Thank you. So that's your city staff team that's been the guiding force and all the muscle behind all the work that's going into the strategic plan. But the advisory group is a critical piece of this process. And the reason you're critical is because you're going to take all of this information that we're getting. You are going to give the guidance and the structure to put into the plan that is then going to be presented to the commissioners as an opportunity to have a further discussion and hopefully adopt that strategic plan. So I made that sound really simple, but the process is actually a little more difficult. And that is that the advisory group gets to hopefully have fun sifting through the more than 700 responses we currently have for our survey. We get to talk about the interview results. And then you all are going to be the ones telling me what to put into that strategic plan. What are those key areas of focus? What are those priorities? What should the city really be focusing on? What does that vision for the future look like? And just in case anyone has to leave early, I'm going to say this like 40 times during this meeting because it is so cool. Please, please, please plan to attend the community meeting, the first one that's coming up next week. It's on the 23rd. It's at 6:30. You'll get to meet Elise. She is she's an artist. And so while the community is saying what they want to see for the future of Coconut Creek in Vision 2030, she will be live sketching it. You'll see it live on screen. It is so cool. You do have to register for the meeting. And if you haven't done that, we can make sure to remind you to do that. But spread the word far and wide. Post it on your Facebook, put it on your social media accounts, let your neighborhood know. This is the chance for the community to really get involved in and really have some fun with and see this really beautiful design come out of the comments and the conversation that we have. So let me stop there and see if any of my advisory group members, that would be at this point, Colleen, Scott, and Saima, have any questions about what I just said?
Nope, I'm good. Colleen's good. Thank you.
Nope, nothing else.
Just one question. Are you going to send out email regarding upcoming meeting?
Yes, you've made a great point. I have so far sent out 3 separate emails to everybody on the advisory group list. So if you are not getting my emails, I'm going to check back in with you at the end. You can also drop a note in the chat box. Hey, I'm not getting your emails. Please send them to the whatever email address you would like me to send them to, so I can make sure to correct that if you haven't seen them. But for each meeting, what will happen is you will get an agenda in advance of the meeting and you'll get at least 2 reminders. I can also send out, thank you, Saima, for giving us your email. I can also send out an actual calendar invite if that would be helpful as well. So whatever makes it easier for you, or easiest, I guess, for you, will be what I can do for you.
Cheryl, you know what, now that I do see, so we're going to have 3 meetings, including today, and then the community meetings. And so what is the difference of these two meetings?
Thank you for asking. I'm going to have you hold that thought just for a minute,
Okay.
because I'm going to get into the process really quickly, and then I'm going to
Okay.
get to the timeline, and hopefully you'll see it easier on the timeline. It'll make more sense when I do it that way. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Super quick. For this virtual process, you guys have clearly been well trained in Zoom. We've been doing it for a while, but still. My goal is to make sure everybody that wants to speak has a chance to speak. And Colleen already sort of, I would say, mirrored really great etiquette in public meetings like this. That is, when she has something to speak, something to say, she might raise her hand or she might verbally say something. Either way is fine with me. But at the end, she says, thank you. That way, everyone else knows that Colleen is done and that they can jump in and say something, or I can move on to the next item. Now, let's say, I don't know this, Colleen, but I'm just going to keep using you as an example. Let's say she is a talker. She talks and she talks and she talks. And well, I have the mute control, so there is that. But also, we'll talk about some rules for having conversations when we get to that point about, you know, being specific, if you can, to headline it. You'll see some of that in this diagram you're looking at. And most of the time on virtual meetings, the chat box works really, really, really well if you have a very long, very complex thought, issue, or statement. There's 2 reasons for that. The first is we keep a copy of that, so I can cut and paste and use that if I need to as a bullet point. But also it just allows you to get your full point across in writing in a way that's easier to do for most people than speaking for long periods of time. So, and my last one, there's probably the most important one, patience and a sense of humor. Erin, who you haven't yet met, but you'll meet in a minute. She and I are in it together, meaning that if I get bumped off, Erin will hop on and run the meeting. And if that happens, if you get bumped off, just do what I do. Try to have a sense of a humor about it and hop right back on, because you won't have missed much if you log off and then log back on. Okay. So let's do introductions just really quickly. And what I mean by that is I want Erin to say hi and introduce herself really quick and let you know what she put in your chat box for you.
Good morning, everyone. I will be co-hosting this meeting today. And if you have any technical issues, I did put my cell phone number. You can text me or you can reach out to me via the chat box for any assistance. I'll just be in the background taking notes during the meeting as well. So let me know if you need anything at all.
Thank you. And the way I typically like to facilitate is to mix it up a little bit. So you have to kind of stay on your toes. So I'm going to give Saima a heads up. First, I'd like Colleen just to introduce herself, give a little bit about her background with Coconut Creek. And then I'm going to turn it over to Saima. And then I'm going to ask Scott to do the same thing for us. So Colleen, if you would like to introduce yourself to your fellow advisory group members.
Hi, everyone. Here I am, Colleen LaPlante, been in Coconut Creek, lived here for 28 years, been on many, many boards. Enjoy it, love the city, looking forward to this. It's very exciting because I was very impressed that, you know, I'm flattered that you all wanted me to be part of this. And I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Saima, if you're there, I want to give you a
Yeah.
second. There you are. I see you come in.
I heard my name when you gave me a heads up. I came to your phone. So my name is Saima Faruqi. I've been living in the city of Coconut Creek for almost 17 years now. I used to live in North Lauderdale, but I heard very good things about Coconut Creek and schools. I have kids, so I had to move into Coconut Creek for better schools. I like the way city is always calm, quiet, hardly made news headlines. That is a compliment. So I mean, for good things. And even when I was living in North Lauderdale, I used to attend the Butterfly Festival because that was a huge, huge hit for the city. And I really wanted to give a shout out to city commissioners and staff and everyone who make that event possible. So I am very excited to be part of this advisory group. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott.
Hi, everybody. My name is Scott Zuckerman. I'm the general manager of Al Hendrickson Toyota. We've been in Coconut Creek for 31 years, and thanks for having us today.
Thank you. Okay. Now I'm going to get to where Colleen was wanting me to go, which is I want to share with you another screen. And sometimes this works really well and sometimes it does not. So we'll see what happens now. Okay, so theoretically, what you're seeing is the first screen of a PowerPoint. My question is, I'm going to look for some head nods or some head shakes. Does that, are you looking at the PowerPoint with the stuff down the side? Yes? Okay, so I'm going to shift screens for a second because I've got a 4-screen system and some days it works better than others. So here we go with my 4-screen system. Now you should be seeing the full slideshow. So it fits the full page. Okay, great. This is a PowerPoint. It will be made available as part of the public record that goes with this. So if there's ever anything that you needed to refer back to, this would be a great spot to do it. And I'm going to go through some things fairly quickly about the process, the timeline, the setup, the engagement piece of it. So we talked a little bit about the purpose. I just want to let you know that my experience in doing this work is that the more minds that are put to the topic at hand, the better the results are. And the type of people we've asked to be a part of this advisory group, I'm going to read their names out loud to you momentarily, were chosen specifically for those reasons, to try to represent the broadest range of the community of Coconut Creek as possible. And then we also have other ways for people to participate. So here's the general timeline. We literally, I should have gone back to 2020 because we literally started this in 2020 before our friend COVID came to bestow its graces upon us. And we picked it back up after we realized that we were just going to have to figure out a way to make it work within the confines of the public health situation. So we started back in December of 2020 again, where we had left off. You probably remember we did some interviews and did a survey last year. You might have met me at the Butterfly Festival because Jackie and I were there at the time with those sticky notes and collecting answers and handing out information. We had a great time. I was sort of bummed I couldn't come back this year. So all the way through phase one, we were sort of developing this list of people and talking about how to interview and what interview questions and what survey reports. And then we released those surveys so that people could take them and also started the interview process, which I'll talk more about momentarily. That's going to close at the end of next week. We have a few more people we added to the interview list. So we'll get a full, what I call engagement report, all the details about everything, right around April 2nd. Sooner if I can make it, but right around April 2nd. And as a continuing part of this, we have 3 meetings right now with the advisory group set up. I'll cover the dates momentarily, but this first meeting is sort of an introductory meeting talking about bigger picture things. The second meeting is going to go into all of the details about the full community feedback piece. And we're going to start talking about making some decisions around some guidance for strategy and focus for Coconut Creek. And then the April 7th meeting will add even more detail to that. If we need to have an additional meeting or two, we'll definitely talk to you throughout the process. You may request another meeting because you wanted to have a deeper discussion, which is perfectly fair as well. We have 2 community meetings. I mentioned the first one, that's the visioning session. And the second community meeting in April, at the end of April, will be to take a look at the draft plan that we create as an advisory group and to make any improvements or ask any questions about that plan. So trying to keep ourselves on track to hopefully get this plan in the commissioner's hands for consideration at a May meeting. We're flexible. If we need to push that a little bit, we can do that. But we're looking at May or at the very, very, very latest by June. So it's not a tight time frame, but we're going to be moving pretty quickly from this point forward. Let me stop there and look up and down my screen. And Scott, if you have a question, you can use your computer to wave a hand, or you can just ask a question. But does anybody, Colleen or Saima, sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name, Saima, have a question?
I do.
Please.
Hi, it's Colleen. So I thought that you had said that April 1st is when we would have there's like 700 responses. And I thought that you had said April 1st is when we would have the report, or?
My timeline right now is around April 2nd.
But then on our March 31st meeting, we were going to do the community feedback. Don't we need that first?
You will have it. Sorry, let me stop share. My screen's not cooperating with me today. It's a great question. It's a process question, which I really love process questions. So the survey results will be complete as of this Friday. We're closing the survey this Friday. My interviews are going to take me a little bit longer. So we will have your survey results. I sent out a link to you all. That link is a live link. So it's updated. If you got one more result back in, it will be instantly updated via that live link. So anytime you look at that after April 19th at midnight, March 19th, this Friday at midnight, you will be able to see the full results of the survey. We also, and by we, I mean Erin, creates a PDF report of all of the answers for you, as well as an Excel spreadsheet report. She will link you through to the Google Drive. So if you're the type of person who wants to sift and sort through the data, that's a great opportunity for you to do that as an advisory group member. We obviously sift and sort through the data, and we create a fairly high level 5 or 6 page report for the community survey, as well as the interviews. So you will have that well before your March 31st meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It's a lot of data. So I appreciate the question of trying to make sure that you have the opportunity to, have enough time to really, dig into that. I think that's a great question. Anything else? All right. I want to talk just a little bit about what I call the process that we're using for the strategic plan. So I'm going to, again, let's see. First of all, let's see how this is going to work. I'm going to try to do it correctly this time and share my screen with you to talk about the process and the definitions. Are you looking at a screen that says process and definitions on it? Good. Okay. I'm in the right spot then. So if you've done strategic planning before, this will be very, very familiar to you. And if you haven't, it's fairly straightforward, but make sure you let me know if you have questions. We have two main, what I call deliverables, a strategic plan that's about 20 pages long. It's a great communication tool. It's very reflective of who Coconut Creek is. There'll be the content will be the information that we create as an advisory group. What are the key areas of focus? What are the priorities? What are the goals? What should we be focused on? But it will also be able to communicate the vision that we create as a community. It will be able to communicate the mission, the core values of the city. So it really tells the story of Coconut Creek, both today and this Vision 2030 for the future. The implementation matrix is the boring part. And I laughingly say that, but I've been staff before with strategic planning, and the implementation matrix is what we use to actually make it happen. That's where it gets super detailed. Cheryl is going to call Keisha by noon on Tuesday to talk about the pothole in front of Aaron's front yard. I'm obviously hyperbolizing and being facetious, but that's the implementation matrix. The advisory group won't have to, thankfully, bother with the implementation matrix. It'll be the staff of the city of Coconut Creek who will be working with our strategic plan that you do create to make that happen. The reason to do a strategic plan, as the vice mayor said, it sort of sets the stage for where we're headed in the future. Because if you know that, then you know some of the things that you need to do in between now and 2030 to make that a reality. It aligns everybody on the same page. It offers some clarity. You can focus on what's most important. It sets realistic expectations so that you know you can actually accomplish, even if it seems like a bit of a stretch, it's still realistic, you can accomplish it. And it tends to be a really great opportunity to align the rest of the city's work around the strategic plan. For example, the budget should reflect the core issues that are in the strategic plan. It's kind of one of those make sense things. The way we're going to work our process is big picture to the small picture. So our big picture is truly going to start on Tuesday night at the community meeting with the vision, and then at our next advisory group meeting as we start to narrow it down from that big picture vision. Because if you know where you're going, then we can start to talk about how do we focus on the most important things, what are they, and how are we going to make those most important things actually happen. I look at it like a roadmap. I'm not going to belabor this, lots of small type, but this is where you start down here today. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Where you want to be up here, the rainbow, the butterflies. I'm going to add a butterfly now. And everything in between. You never know what's going to happen 10 years from now. You might have, I laughingly call it road construction that you have to pull over. You might have to change the bus. There might be different people on the bus on your journey. So there are lots of things that could potentially happen. But as long as you're on the road and you reevaluate, you check the map from time to time, then you will get to that destination at the very end. So it's just kind of a visual to keep in the back of your head. So this is most of the work we're going to do big picture today, the outside of this ring. You'll notice there are 3 questions there, and I have 4 listed in the title, and there's a reason for that. So here's again how I think about strategic planning. You got to know where you are today. So where are we right now today? What's working well? What's not working well? What makes Coconut Creek unique? What are the things that make us stand out that no one else might have? The question about where do you want to be in the future? We'll talk about that today. And then I hope you come to that visioning session and mention it again so Elise can capture that for us. And then, like I said, you can tell us how to get there. But there's a fourth question that's equally important, and that is, how will we know if we're successful? And that's the measurements. Those are the outcomes we're trying to create, and there are ways to measure them. So we as an advisory group will also talk about that and make some recommendations back to the city. So what I would like to do is sort of stop right there and see if you guys have any questions about this process. It was pretty big picture, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Okay. What I would like to do then is take a really quick stretch break. And by quick, I mean 2 or 3 minutes, but you've been sitting here with us for almost half an hour, and that can wear you down really quick. So if anybody wants to stretch, please do. It's also good because I'm about to ask you some more difficult questions, and you might want a little bit of blood flow to your brain for these questions. This would be an opportunity in just a few minutes, Saima, to unmute yourself because it's going to be a brainstorming session. Erin will be taking notes for us, and I'll be asking some questions. And you can either put your information into the chat box, for example, Scott, if that's going to work better for you, or if you want to say them verbally, I will make sure and call your name just to be sure, because obviously I can't see your face, so I don't know if you're holding up your hand or anything. All right. What I want to do with the group now is to start asking some of those big picture questions, maybe spend 5 or 7 minutes capturing any answers that you might have in that area, and then move on to the next big picture question. So I will be asking all 4 of those questions. We're going to start with where are we now? We're going to move to where do we want to be? We're going to talk about how we're going to get there. And then I'm going to ask you, how will we know when we're successful? I'll give better directions in a minute, but that's the idea. So at the end of about 20 minutes, in time for our next stretch break, we should have a really good idea of what that looks like. And then I want to share the community feedback so far. The reason I'm not sharing it first is that I don't want to influence your answers in any way. I want them to be completely your own, because you're going to build on those answers with the community feedback at our next meeting. All right, so Erin, whenever you're ready, you can draw up a document. Erin can either share that document as she's typing, or I will say, by the way, there is one ground rule here. Spelling doesn't count. We spell check later. Or Erin's going to be typing busily in the background on mute while we're talking. It does not matter to me how Erin chooses to do this section. Again, you can use the chat box, and I will read the chat out loud if we need to, and go from there. So for my advisory group members, the question at the heart of this is trying to find out where we are now. And there are 3 areas I want to talk about. I want to talk about first, what is it that no matter what, you want to make sure you preserve about what's good about Coconut Creek as a community? It can be a physical structure. It could be an event. It could be a sense or a feeling. It could be a particular part of the community. It could be the way the government is doing something specifically. But that's the question. What is it about Coconut Creek that you absolutely, no matter what, want to preserve? Are there any questions about the question before I turn you loose on this? All right, so Colleen, if you want to unmute yourself, if you're still there. If not, we will work with Scott first. Scott, what would you say if I asked you, what is it you want to preserve?
I think your willingness to help local businesses.
The willingness to help local businesses. Great. Anything else you have to add right now? I'm going to come full circle like 3 or 4 times, so you might think of something else, which is fine.
No, nothing right now.
Okay. Colleen, what would you say if I said, what would you like to preserve?
Okay, mine would be to preserve our amazing police department and our safety.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You can add something else now, or I'm going to come back around as well to make sure.
Okay, also, I just think that our city is just run so amazing. I honestly do. It's so transparent. You can find anything that you want on our website. There's outreaches all the time, our events, our butterfly festival. farmers, everything that we have, the farmers market, it's truly amazing. It really is. I love being here and I would not live in any city in Broward County.
Nice. Thank you. I'm going to come back to you because I'm going to start asking what else to kind of keep it going. And I may even interject a few opportunities, but just because I say them, Erin's not going to write down what I say. What I say is just going to be a few prompts to see if there's anything else that I can dredge out of you about what you want to preserve. So Saima, what is it that you want to preserve about what's going on right now with Coconut Creek?
So in the beginning, as I mentioned, that the Butterfly Festival is so fascinating, not just for the city residents. It actually pulls the traffic from other cities to come to our city and see how wonderful we are and well organized. And that actually bring other people from other cities, give an initiative to move into city. And when I see all the big dealerships in our city, I am very happy to see that Coconut Creek has the biggest car dealership. Not just, I'm not saying because Scott is here, but I really am always fascinated that when I see those big dealerships. So local businesses, as Scott said, that I like to see preserved, and Butterfly Festival. And really like to get other like local communities and people from or other residents. They should be part of the planning. As I said, this advisory committee or group, whatever you want to call it, it's really wonderful. I like to see more people and more residents towards a part of the planning process. So that's what I really like to preserve. And I'll come back if I think something else.
Thank you. Scott, was there anything else that brought up for you? And I'm going to ask the question just slightly differently too. That may dredge up some more things. That is, as you think about Coconut Creek, what is it that made you want to live there? We heard that a little bit, right? What is it that made the business want to locate there? What is it that makes, you know, Coconut Creek so unique that it attracts people that you want to make sure you keep? Does that bring anything up, Scott? Do you have anything else? Nope, we lost Scott. Okay, back to Colleen. Did that bring anything else? Can you think of anything else?
Yes, I do. Our rec centers, both at the north and the south side, are just truly a very benefit, you know, a good asset to our city. I wish more people would take advantage of it. I mean, now, you know, after the pandemic and all, our schools are amazing. I mean, we have like most of our schools are top-notch A schools. We probably could use another middle school, but I don't know, that's not our option. But I think our schools are what draws people also to our city.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Saima, I'm going to come back around to you, and then I'm going to throw a few things out there to see if they prompt anything. Anything else that came to mind, Saima?
Yeah, as mentioned, that schools were the main reason when I moved to Coconut Creek. Safety. Honestly, our police department is very well trained, I'm gonna say, because I have conversations with some other resident, some people of color, when they have interaction with city police. They usually give me a very good response in terms of that they're treated with respect, like even if they get pulled over, they're not being treated like differently. So I really like to give our police department I mean, it's a compliment that I personally have spoken to people of color. They usually don't really complain about our city, but again, if something comes up, I always tell them to talk to the city officials if there's a complaint or something, but so far haven't heard anything. So it's a compliment, as I said. Safety, schools, and of course Butterfly Festival. But what I would like to see is when we have city elections, I really want to see more advertisement, like around Butterfly Festival, we have those little banners on each pole. So when we have local elections, I would really like to suggest that we advertise for elections like we advertise as
So,
Butterfly
Saima?
Festival.
Saima, I'm just going to interrupt for the purpose of using this as a wonderful opportunity. So Erin's keeping something called a parking lot.
Uh-huh.
And in the parking lot are going to go issues like this that you might want to or need to bring up, but that weren't on the agenda for today.
Okay.
So because we're going to capture it in the parking lot, we'll make sure that we remember it as an issue. But I just wanted to jump in there and let you know we're capturing that.
Okay, thank you. And again, city water, personally, when people talk about bottled water and stuff, I say, you know what, I can easily drink my tap water because I know my water has been tested on periodic basis. So I feel safe drinking my city water. And I tell them, like, when you move into a city, you know what you want to look into with schools and safety, you want to look into the water, how many times the water has been tested. So those are the essentials, like lifelines for us to just look into when we choose a city to our place of residence. And again, as a city of Coconut Creek resident, I really want to say, I feel safe when I drink tap water. I feel safer to drink tap water over the bottled water because there's no regulation on bottled water where they fill the bottles and all that, but city has a regulation to test the water. So those are the things I really don't want to give up on, like really want to keep as is and improve, of course. So yeah, there's always room of improvement. So I would like
we're gonna talk about that next. We're just stuck right now on what it is you want to preserve.
Yeah, those are the things. It's the safety, police department, Butterfly Festival, the school grading, that kind of stuff.
Thank you. Okay. So Saima just took us kind of where I wanted to go, but I want to make sure, I know Scott's now back on his computer and he's participating via chat. So if he has anything to add, I'll make sure and read that out loud, or you can follow along if you like to do that in the chat. So I'm going to check back in with Colleen first, and then Scott, any last minute thoughts about what you want to preserve? Because next we're going to go to what is it you might want to improve?
Okay, one more thing for Colleen. So our taxes. So if you look at the complete, everyone, I think a lot of people don't understand that the millage rate involves like not just more than the city taxes. And I think that our city taxes have been de minimis in being raised through all these years. And our city has just done an amazing job. But I think the overall is that people, I guess that might be off the chart, but they don't understand, like if they look at their taxes, that, you know, we only get this little portion of the taxes. We don't get all those taxes, and that, but yet the city has yet kept our taxes at a low rate. And I think that that's one of the things that we should be really proud of.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I'll just trust Scott will put something into the chat box if he needs to, since he is not able to connect via audio. So then, you know, it's also important to know what might not be working so well or where there might be opportunities to improve. So setting the stage for that, the question is right now today, understanding that there are a lot of things that the city cannot affect. For example, you mentioned it already, the schools. The city can certainly partner with the schools and support, but they're not responsible for making changes there. The landfill is another one that might come up, but it's just not something that the city really has any direct control over. There are many roads in your area that the city has no control over because the states or even the feds have some responsibility for those roads. So if you do bring those things up, we will definitely capture them, but we'll try not to focus too much on them because there's not much the city can do. But we're looking for things that the city could improve upon. So when you think to yourself, gosh, what do I wish the city would do that they're not currently doing? What have I seen somewhere else that would be kind of cool to have the city do? Or perhaps even there's something that's frustrating for you about what the city is currently doing. Now would be the time to bring those kinds of things up. So this time I'm going to start with Saima and come back through to Colleen. So Saima, if I said to you, what are some things that the city of Coconut Creek could improve what would you say?
As I mentioned, that around local city elections, the advertisement for the local elections, because when I was trying to make phone calls and get people to come out to vote, mostly people were not even aware that there is an election. So it's not November. So I was just very surprised at how unaware the city residents were about the local elections, when city election and city local government affects our lives the most. So they were not aware. So I would like to see some work done towards the advertisement when it comes to election. The second thing I would really like to see, I don't know if city is already doing it, but I have mentioned that before, or suggested to Commissioner Mickey Belvedere regarding diversity and inclusion training to our police department. I don't know if we already have some kind of training that they go through, which last time, I think a year and a half ago, before this COVID hit us, I don't think that we had any kind of training like that at that point. So I would really like to see some kind of diversity and inclusion training for our city officials and of course the police department, if we can implement that. So those are the two things that I can think of right now.
Thank you. Scott, as always, please do feel free to drop whatever you think we could improve into the chat box. Oh, you might be connected to audio now, Scott, but I'll come back to you just in case. Colleen, please go ahead.
Oh, this is hard. I can't really put my mind on too many things, but one of my pet peeves is local speeding in the neighborhoods. It's really terrible. I don't know if speed bumps are the answer. Sorry. Oops. I don't know if speed bumps or handing out tickets, but I ride my bike every day and people speed every day, and it's in my neighborhood. And these are our streets. These are Coconut Creek streets. So that's something that I think that, and it's not in everybody's neighborhoods. I've talked to other people too. That's
Okay.
I really don't have anything else that I can. I mean, we all want bike lanes, but can't do. There's only so much room for that.
Exactly.
You know what? I do have to get this because.
Please go right ahead. We'll move on to Scott.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Okay.
Scott, is there anything that you would like to add about what you would like to improve? Okay. I'm going to share something on screen. We'll come back with Colleen in a second and go there. What I'm going to share with you are, I use the term ground rules, and I'm not really meaning to make them, rules, but I'd call them guidelines, best practices, if you will. So what I like to do is go through a process like this first, and then come back to this in terms of how did that apply to the process we just worked on. So you all have this whole respect thing down, which is awesome. And for me, respect means, of course, listening carefully, paying attention, asking questions when there's an opportunity or time to ask questions, but also knowing that every idea is a good idea. I mean, you may not agree with the idea, but whoever said it thinks it's a good idea. So we all think it's a good idea. At some point, we have to narrow down the good ideas, but we're not there yet. Using headlines is going to be very helpful to keep the meeting on time and on track. If we had 15 people or 20 people in this meeting, I would be asking you very, very specifically to headline it. So an example of that might be, what do you think is going really well? What do you really like? What do you want to preserve? I want to preserve the way our police department treats the community of Coconut Creek. Just headline it, leave it right there. Or speeding in the neighborhood of Quail Hollow, right? Just a headline, just right there. If we need more context, if we don't understand it, if we'd like more details, we will definitely be asking you for more context. So for the most part, it sounds like everything you've talked about is really clear and probably doesn't need that much context. So we'll follow that along and see how that goes. This disagreeing with curiosity, there will be a point at which we get to debate what's the best idea. When we get to that point, it's always done from the sense of curiosity and using what I call Oreo, right? So we'll cover more of these ground rules later, but I really wanted to cover these first three because we're going to move into the headline approach in order to get you guys out of here on time. Any questions about what any of those guidelines, best practices mean? So Colleen, I'm really just dealing with the top three right now. And probably the most important one for time is the headline. Okay. That will also, of course, be attached to the documents for the public meeting. We're going to use it every single time. So that will also be available to you later. So our next section that Erin's going to take down for us is going to be this question of where is it that you want to be? And I know we're doing this community visioning session next week, so I'm going to phrase the question just a little bit differently. The question is going to be about the future. Let's say we are in 2030 now, and we obviously sitting here today, it's pretty hard to say what will happen, but I'm sure most of you have some ideas about what you'd like to see happen. So my question is this. As you're sitting here in the year 2030 and I'm your cousin and I give you a call and I say, hey, I'm coming to visit, and you get super excited because I'm your favorite cousin. And I ask you, what is it that we're going to do? What are the cool restaurants to go to? Where are we going to do our retail shopping therapy? What are the best parks in town? You know, what's going on in Coconut Creek this week that we're going to have this most awesome time hanging out together and visiting? Remember, this is in the future. What is it you'd say to me? What are we going to do? What are we going to see in 2030 that you're going to take me around to and be super proud of? So I'm going to start with Colleen, and then I'm going to go to Scott and then Sima. So Colleen, tell me.
Okay, thank you. I guess it would be our downtown. When our downtown is done.
And what's in
And-
downtown?
Well, we're going to have a lot more shops. We're going to have a lot of green space. We're going to, I mean, right now we have our movie theater. I mean, the promenade was just going to be part of it. More development, residential. Sheila can tell you more.
Yeah, we're not going to let Sheila talk.
Okay.
Nice. I have a quick question for you, Colleen. It's a follow-up a little bit. Do you see anything? I'm going to loosely, and the reason I'm being loose about it is I don't want to like steer you in any direction. Do you see anything around cultural events or activities?
Oh boy.
You don't have to. I'm just kind of
I don't-
curious. Sometimes when I spring these questions on you, you're like, what?
All right. No, I
Nobody knows.
can't go there with that one yet. I need to,
Okay.
can I come back? Can you come back to me?
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
So Scott, we'd love to hear from you, Scott. I know you're quiet because you're on mute, but we'd love to have you put something in the chat box. That's what this is all about, is your opportunity to really, tell the city what it is you'd like to see happen in the city of Coconut Creek. So have at her in any way, form you want to. Sima, what would you say if I asked you what you want to take me around, what you want to show me? What cool things are we going to do?
So the first cool thing, like Colleen already mentioned, Promenade, where we have movie theater. I really like that Hillsborough Preserve, like we have a nice trail there. That is very common. I know some friends from Boca Raton, they go there to just walk on the trail. So that is something that I really like to preserve and maybe improve. Cultural events, I know Commissioner Mickey Belvedere ran a multicultural club, and we had some, I think it was Ramadan Iftar and stuff. So that's just bringing other communities together. And if we have some events, maybe MLK walk or some kind of like MLK event, or even others, based on, we have like multicultural events around other cities that they do. So when things like that, St. Patrick's Day, some things like that, we can have multicultural events part of our city planning. Another thing I really want to see again, like people like to have fun, and City of Coconut Creek is solely like family-based city. So I would like to see, in Margate they have a water park, a mini water park. So I know we have splash pads for kids, but if we can have some kind of like a small water park, then we would bring a lot of traffic in the city. We can bring a little revenue if we just start collecting maybe a few dollars for entrance, as the Margate has it, I think $3 for entrance, something like that. So I really would like to see something like that. As I said, families like fun. So that's for now, that's all I can think. And as I said, I'm at work, so I'm just multitasking. So my brain is just thinking both ways, work and other activities. So yeah, for now, that's all I can think of.
That's great. I'm going to come back to Colleen too, but I would say that these are similar questions that we're going to do on Tuesday night. So you can spend some time between now and Tuesday and come in full force on Tuesday too. It won't be the last time we talk about it. So Colleen, I see you're unmuted. Go for it.
Okay, I thought of something. Okay, I'll take them to the new banquet hall that we're going to have over here on Hillsborough, because there's going to be my 75th birthday or something like that. How's that?
Perfect. Okay. And then the question is really sort of knowing what we know today, because you guys know Coconut Creek far better than I do. So if you think about Coconut Creek as it is today, and it's, what you want to preserve, we're going to take that forward, but also what you want to improve upon. And you think to yourself, okay, so now I've just described some of the things I see in the future. Here's my question. The commissioners give you a call and they say, hey, Sima, hey, Colleen, we want you to come talk to us individually, really super informal. But basically, whatever it is you say is what we're going to do. We're taking your word for it. That is what we're going to do. What are the top 3 things that we need to do in the next coming years to make that 2030 a reality? What are the top 3 things that we need to do? So take your time, think about it, maybe even make a little note, jot it down. Make sure that you spend enough time on this. There's going to be some awkward silence as a result of this. I feel like I should play Jeopardy music, but I won't. So I'm looking for the top 3 things that you're going to tell the commissioners that they need to focus their time and energy on to get your 2030 accomplished. I have a timer on for 1 minute.
If there's not much left, then is it okay if I jump off the call now? Because I really have to go.
Do you want to tell me your top 3 things really quick, and then you can go wherever you need to go?
Okay. The top 3 things that, as I said, city can control is the water, safety with the police department, of course. And the third thing is, let me think. Local businesses, supporting local businesses, because if we have support for local businesses and they're thriving, we all are going to succeed.
Okay. And Saima, if you do need to go, you can always come back and take a look at this video to get caught up on the rest of our meeting, which will probably only last another 20 minutes or so. So you'd only have to watch 20 minutes to get all caught up.
Okay, I will. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this planning, and thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Sam. Bye. Bye.
So Colleen, now you've got like 14 people staring at you, right?
I know.
But
Uh,
if we were commissioners, we'd be staring at you anyway. So what are your top 3 things?
Okay, so this is a good one, I think. The neighborhood enhancements, I think that's good, especially because it will be down the road and some of the neighborhoods will definitely need some enhancements. I think that should be something more that we could focus on. Jeez. Taxes. Keep the taxes at a low. Oh, boy.
And I use 3 as a guideline. If you have 2, I'll take 2.
Well, the infrastructure, I just love how our infrastructure, like across the street from me, the new building was built, it's just gorgeous. I mean, that's what it was. I'm not gonna go what it was zoned for, but it's clean. It's the green, that the building structure, the infrastructure that we do is just totally first class. I keep it at that for sure. And bury our electric lines.
Bury our electric lines.
But we already have that ordinance, but I'm saying no exceptions.
Make it happen. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. So again, Colleen, you've got a little bit of a preview about some of the work that we're going to do on Tuesday night. But
Okay.
what I want to do with you is quickly cover some of the community feedback, because I don't think it's going to be a surprise to you. But when we look at this type of feedback, I just want to preface this by saying that indeed it is an issue of opinion, right? The stuff isn't statistically significant in the sense that it's not something that everything that's in there can be weighted. But the reason I like the opportunity to talk to people is you get a really good idea of some of the common themes that keep coming up. So then when you see those common themes, you know to yourself, oh yeah, that's important to the community. So this is all draft, it's not complete, but I thought it would be fun to share. And the city hasn't seen this yet either, so this is new to them as well. A full report, again, will be coming out of this with a lot more detail, but these are my interviews. And these are the people, there are about 25 of them that I will be talking to. I've talked to about 15 so far. And these are the common themes I'm seeing. So people think you all have amazing parks and recreation types of services. They really love the programming and the recreation side, and they really love the parks.
Yeah.
And they say all the family events going on are awesome. The Butterfly Festival, every event that the city is involved in seems to be really well done and appreciated. The green space, the fact that you've conserved green space and open space, the fact that you're a tree city is really important.
Mhm.
I've consistently heard safe and clean, and I've consistently heard about people use different terms. The fact that you're environmentally conscious, that you're conservation conscious, and working to that end in terms of recycling and the initiatives that the city has. People strongly want to preserve the feeling of being a small town. They know they're not a small town, but that feeling where it feels like you're part of a community, that you belong there, that it's welcoming and friendly, that there's a family opportunities. And the word diversity comes up a lot, and I know it means different things to different people, so I want to explain it in this context. The diversity of people in the community. There are people from all over, literally the world, that live in Coconut Creek. There's a range of ages. There's a range of languages spoken. There are opportunities for people from different socioeconomic statuses to be involved in what the city's doing. Promenade keeps coming up as a point of that people really, really like the promenade. And to Colleen's point as well, this downtown Coconut Creek, common theme that people are incredibly supportive of. They want to see happen, and they understand that it's going to take some time to happen. And the reason I asked about cultural amenities, Colleen, is that I'm starting to hear and see some themes about things like a museum, and an amphitheater has been mentioned by almost everybody I talk to. What that tells me is probably the city's been talking about this stuff for a while, and so people are now remembering it. Either that, or potentially, if they're coming up with it on their own, that is a significant thing that they want to see. And then we already talked about the fact that there are a lot of things that the city doesn't do or can't do because they just don't control it. So what I heard today is very, very similar commonalities, even among the two people that we were working with, Colleen, you and Sima, that you have similar feelings with some new and interesting information. And the new and interesting part is great because that adds to that information that the city can take back and work on and think about. So, Colleen, did you have a chance to go to that link for the actual survey results?
No, I didn't.
No problem. I'm actually going to take you there really quick, and it's
Okay.
on the agenda too. So if you ever wanted to go there, you certainly could.
Okay.
Okay. So it just came up for me, so I'm going to hold on half a second and make sure it's all good to go. So as I mentioned, this link is a live update. So when you do bring it up, it will show you the actual results live, as it were. And it's being annoying right now, so I'm going to take a second to bring it up. In the meantime, while I'm bringing it up, Colleen, I just wanted to touch base on your original comment way back when about the 3 meetings coming up.
Okay.
And I wanted to check in with you personally. And obviously, we're going to try to continue these advisory group meetings in the sense that we want to have as many people attend as possible. But depending on people's ability to attend or what else they're up to, it may be that we need to approach it a different way too. So we may be getting back to you with a different way for you to participate. But regardless, we really appreciate your time today and how you're helping us out with this information. And if you want to spread the word about the strategic plan process and what we're up to, that would be great too. So the more people, the merrier. So our dashboard for the survey, Colleen, you probably remember back in 2020, we did a survey and there were 300 responses. We will take those responses and combine them with the 2021, which so far right now we have about 400 responses. Okay. So here is that link, and I'm just going to share my screen so you can kind of see a little bit about what it looks like. Aaron also dropped the link into the chat box if you ever need it. So what you should be looking at is a series of square boxes that have charts and things in them. Perfect. Okay. So this is every question that was asked. And what it will do is it will let you know if there were any written comments or if it was just a check the box comment. So please tell us about yourself. We tried to gather some information about who is responding to the survey. So if you owned a business or you work here but maybe not live here, you could check the fact that you worked here and lived here and owned a business here, for example. So we asked a little bit about age range and things like that. What's nice for me, what makes it best for me are things like what makes Coconut Creek special to you? And so we had people decide what makes them special. Safe community comes up time and time again, Colleen, so you can kind of see what you're thinking is really reflective of what the community is thinking. The small town feel, and it goes through all of those. This question about what else would be helpful to know, 217 people answered this in their own words if there was anything else. And so if they had something burning on their mind and didn't get a chance to answer the question, this was their opportunity to tell us that. So, bring recycling back. A lot of these will help show us where we might not be hitting the mark in communication, because maybe we are doing something and there are, out of 200 comments, 100 of them talk about flags on the polls like Simon mentioned, but we're already doing that. That would lead me to suggest that there might be a communication opportunity. So rate the overall quality of life in the city, with excellent being green and good being blue. You can see overall very, very, very high marks in these areas.
Oh, that's good.
So you can just scroll your way through that and take a look. And again, the survey is going to close down on the 19th. So literally at midnight. So over the weekend, we're going to start working on compiling that data, getting it together in a way that makes sense and sending it back out. And then after that, we're going to start working on the actual report, which takes all of this data and tries to look for common themes so that we can bring that back to you, Colleen, as an advisory group and say, all right, we've heard what you all have to say in these areas. Now here's what the community as a whole has had to say. Now let's talk about what's most important to the advisory group about that feedback and what recommendation you make to the city. So that's how it all ties together. And that's really where we are. So let me stop for a second. Colleen, any questions about that community engagement feedback stuff?
No, but I do have one suggestion. Like the other day when we had that water issue and we all were receiving phone calls, I think maybe if we do something like that way through the public announcement, like to get people to participate, maybe we could do that, like, you know, hey, I don't know, just to get the word more out there for more participation. Is that something that maybe we could do? I mean, I know it's on our website by word of mouth, but maybe by that, if people get a couple calls, they'll say, oh, what is this? This sounds interesting. You know, like I want to be part of it. Just a thought.
No, it's a great stuff. I see some head nods, and if anybody at the city does want to have a response to that, that's great. Or if that's just something we want to take later.
Can I chime in on that real quick? That is the Cocoa Alert, and we've actually promoted that as an emergency
Oh, okay.
process or emergency way to communicate with our community. So once they hear Cocoa Alert, they think it's going to be boiled water. There's going to be something like crazy happening. So that's my only hesitation. I think it's a great idea, but my only hesitation is, you know, we tend not to use it for anything other than an emergency, but Karen can say otherwise. And then we'll get people who didn't get it, and then we get all the, it'll be a mess. I'm telling you.
I think you explained it sufficiently. And we have been reaching out as you know, through all of the emails that we have, you know, through our billing system, through our Cocograms, through you know, signage, you know, in every way possible. And
we have banners on the street.
yeah, banners, right. So it almost seems like what is helpful is the word of mouth, you know, and just getting out there, you know, just like during the campaigning, everybody knew everything of what was going on because everybody was talking. But yeah, appreciate the suggestion for sure. And we'll see what we can do if there's another mechanism or anything.
Okay,
Thanks.
All right, then before I close this out, Colleen, for the record, there are no members of the public here, but I would like to suggest that now would be the time for public comment if we had any public comment. But we don't have any members of the public. Just in case, I'm going to ask the question and then I'm going to be silent for a few seconds just to cover all bases. If there is any member of the public present that would like to make a comment, now would be your opportunity to do so. All right. I am going to, in a second, see if the vice mayor will close us out. But Colleen, right now, what we're planning on is those 3 meetings. The one today, the one on Wednesday, March 31st, same time, and the one on Wednesday, April 7th, same time. Do those times generally work for you?
I have a conflict on April 7th
Okay.
because I have an appointment in the morning. I can do later in the day if that would work.
We will definitely get back to you on that.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
All right. So what you will get from me in the meantime, Colleen, are probably a couple of emails that sort of set the stage for that coming meeting to remind you about it. I'll send out the Outlook invite, but you have it. So if you want to accept that, it'll put it on your calendar and so forth. And then that meeting on Tuesday night, which is, I think, going to be so much fun. I'm so excited about that. I'm probably not up to 40 mentions yet, but if I could mention it 40 times, I would. Before the vice mayor closes us out, is there anybody else, staff or anybody that has any questions or issues that I need to cover as part of this recorded meeting? Hearing none. Josh, Mr. Rydell, if you are still there. Okay, you know how people have to step away sometimes. Perfectly understandable. But Colleen, thank you so much for your time and your participation. If you have any questions, holler at me or anybody else here that you see on the screen. They will be able to help out. Let me check in with Erin. Erin, is there anything that you need before we close out the meeting?
No, I don't think so. I think we're all set.
All right, we will officially stop recording then, Erin, if you wouldn't mind, in 3, 2, and we will stop recording the